Oh, hello. Have you come here to learn how to make your own Coca-Cola? Do you want to know more about the relationship between that refreshing beverage and Ma Rainey, the blues legend? Well, then you are in the right place. Today on Historically Drinking, we'll be making our own DIY Coca-Cola, and then we'll be sipping on it while we talk about the relationship between Ma Rainey and Coca-Cola. Let's head on over to the Historically Drinking kitchen and we'll get started on that Coke. Hi, welcome to the Historically Drinking kitchen. Let's get started on our DIY Coca-Cola syrup. First, I'm going to add 1 cup of water to this pan. And then to that, I'm going to put the zest of 1/4 of a lime and 1/4 of a lemon and 1/2 of an orange. Okay, there's the last of our zest in. Now I'm going to put in 1 cinnamon stick, which I have broken into pieces. And then I'm going to grate just a bit of fresh nutmeg into here. Okay, and I'm going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon of coriander. And the next ingredient, this is a dried orange peel. You might have a hard time finding this at your local grocery store. I had to order this online, but I was able to find it in a bunch of different places online. You need 1/2 tablespoon of this. And then we're going to add 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to turn this on high, and I'm going to stir it as it comes to a simmer. Okay, it's just started to simmer a little bit, so I'm going to turn the heat off. If I was on an electric stove instead of a gas stove, I would be taking it all the way off of the burner. And now I'm going to add the juice from the lemon, lime, and orange that I used the zest from at the beginning. There's the last of our juice. The next thing that I'm going to add is the thing that is going to give this that distinctive Coca-Cola color. I'm going to put in browning sauce. The one that I'm using is Kitchen Bouquet browning sauce. I would recommend using this one. There's many other types, but you want to be careful about getting one that's going to add too much flavor, because really what we're looking for most is the color from this. So I'm going to put in a tablespoon. It's always a good idea if you're measuring liquids not to measure them over the thing that you're putting them into in case you have a spill. You can't take it back once it's gone in. Okay, and then finally, we're going to put in 2 extracts. So vanilla extract, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with, and then cola nut extract. This is also something that I had to order online, but didn't have any problem getting online, and it came quickly. This gives it that distinct cola flavor. So it's 1/2 teaspoon. of our vanilla. And then a teaspoon and a half of the cola extract. All right, it's got the right color. That's good. Now we need to strain this. You can see it's got that beautiful cola color. I'm going to set this aside. So what I would recommend doing is actually letting it cool in the pot and then straining it, and that gives the flavors some more time to be extracted from all those ingredients that you're straining out. For the sake of expediency for this video, I strained it now because I wanted you to see me strain it. But I am going to let this sit here and cool. I have a batch that I made yesterday that's in the fridge, cold already. There's that. And this. This is an optional step. This is my cream siphon. So it's empty. I just put it in the fridge because it works. Oh, that was water. It's clean. It works best when it's cold. So I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to charge it with an NO2 cartridge. If I had CO2 cartridges, it would be best because the CO2 would add bubbles and acidity to this, which would be great. But the NO2 will also add some positive things. The NO2 will give it a really nice creamy mouthfeel, and it'll give it that beautiful fizz on top that looks like you want soda to look when you pour it. So I'm just gonna put one of these cartridges here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this, and you might be able to hear the gas release. There we go. All right, I'm gonna give it a couple shakes. So this helps the gas really mix in with the liquid. And it's ready for the next step. So let's go over to the bar and let's make some whiskey and Coke. All right, come on. Welcome to the bar. Okay, let's mix ourselves a drink. I'm going to put the soda into the glass first. Let's hope this goes well. I'm aiming for about an ounce of the syrup. There we are. Now I'm going to add about 2 ounces of my soda water. I'm using water from my Soda Stream. I would recommend rather to use a bottled soda water. Topo Chico is my favorite. It has the densest bubbles, so that'll give you the most bubbly soda. Look at all that foam. That's from it being charged in the soda siphon. All right, next I'm going to add the whiskey. I'm going to put in 1.5 ounces. I'm using a bourbon whiskey. This is Old Grandad, and the reason that I'm using this whiskey is because it started to be manufactured in the late 1800s before Ma Rainey's birth, and it was around, it's been around ever since then. So it would have been around in Ma's time. I'm just gonna give this a little stir and add some ice. Okay, I'm gonna put a lime wedge on. I'm not gonna squeeze it in yet. Here we go, cheers. It is really friggin' good. It's so good. I do want to squeeze the lime in here. It can use just a little bit more acidity. Oh. That is so yummy. So the difference between this and brand Coca-Cola is it is not as bubbly. It is also not as acidic. That wonderful bracing acidity that Coca-Cola has. This doesn't. It has enough acidity to be in balance so that it's pleasing to drink. It tastes good, but man, Coca-Cola is super, super acid. And it has a little less cola taste too. But wow, it's so good. Whew. Okay, so who was Ma Rainey? Well, she was a very, very influential blues singer in the early years of the blues. She had a strong, big personality. She loved to dress up. She wore diamonds and pearls. She would wear ostrich feathers on stage. She wanted to put on a show and be ostentatious while she was doing it. We know that she loved whiskey because she talked about it in her music. She talked about whiskey, she talked about drinking, she talked about being drunk. She was somebody who clearly appreciated the hard stuff. Now, did she like Coca-Cola? Well, if you've seen the movie on Netflix, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is excellent and I highly recommend, then you have seen the scene where she asks for her ice cold Coke and they don't have any waiting for her in the studio like she thought that they were going to. So she refuses to start recording again until somebody runs to the store and gets her another ice cold Coca-Cola. The movie is a work of historical fiction, so we don't know that anything like this ever occurred. We don't know that she liked Coke at all. The writer of the play that this movie was based on, August Wilson, what he did that was brilliant in using Coca-Cola for the scene is that there are so many parallels between Ma's life and Coca-Cola. Both of them were born in Columbus, Georgia in 1886. This is the same year that temperance was passed in Atlanta, which is the closest big city and is in the neighboring county. Temperance was passed in those places. Coke's predecessor, which was not called Coca-Cola, was actually an alcoholic beverage. But the man who had invented it quickly pivoted with the passing of this temperance legislation, took the alcohol out of this beverage, started calling it Coca-Cola, and marketing it as a temperance drink. Now, even though it didn't have alcohol in it anymore, it did contain another powerful intoxicant, cocaine. The early years of Coke, Ma was known as Gertrude Pridgett. She started singing for audiences at a young age when she was just a young teenager. But she was not yet singing the blues at this time. She hadn't been exposed to it. The blues was really a brand new thing. In the early years of Coca-Cola, Coke was only drank by white people. Why? Because it was only sold at soda fountains, and those soda fountains were segregated and really only accessible to people with some decent income, so middle class and above. Coca-Cola began to be bottled in the late 1800s, and with its bottling, it became available to everybody to drink and became very popular very quickly. Now, some white people had fears. They were worried about the use of cocaine in the black community. Newspapers were fueling this fire by running stories about white women being raped by Negro cocaine fiends. When a story was published in an Atlanta newspaper revealing that Coca-Cola contained cocaine, the white community started putting pressure for the makers of the beverage to remove it. By 1903, they had removed the cocaine. By 1903, Ma Rainey had been introduced to and started to sing the blues. Both Ma Rainey and Coca-Cola turned 21, of course, in the same year, 1907. This was a great year because the other thing that happened was the combination of whiskey and Coke were first mentioned in print. For sure, it had been around before this. It was already quite popular in Ma Rainey's part of the world. So it is very likely that Ma Rainey did, in fact, drink whiskey Cokes just like this. Over the next 30 years, Ma Rainey molded and popularized the blues. She made more than 100 recordings, and she performed for audiences that were made up of both white and black people. And during her performances, people got so crazy for the music that they would come close to the stage and everybody would mix together. Ma died in 1939. She was a great success during her lifetime. She had become known as the mother of the blues. Not only that, she was also a successful businesswoman. She had run 3 popular movie theaters in her hometown of Columbus, Georgia. Coca-Cola became an international company during her lifetime. The year of her death, they sold $27 million worth of Coke across the world. You curious about Ma Rainey's music? I'm going to link a video just seconds away that you can click on that will take you so you can listen to a Ma Rainey song and start your exploration of her if you are not already familiar with her music. Thank you so much for watching today. Historically Drinking is now on Patreon, so you can support the show over there for as little as $3 a month if you would like. Right. Cheers. See you again next week.